Good morning. I'll give you a mini intro. Welcome to Studio Roosegaarde, the Lab for Art and Technology projects here. We're working on a series of interactive artworks here. You can see more links below, such as interactive landscape June or sustainable dance floor, a dance floor which generates electricity when you dance on it, or intimacy, interactive fashion. And what we do here is actually think about futuristic and interactive landscapes. What happens when tech becomes tactile, when it becomes sensual, and when it becomes a part of our ideology, so to speak. And as sort of true Dutch artists, we're sort of half priest, half entrepreneur, in which on one hand we have ideology and visions about the future, but on the other hand, of course, we're sort of obsessed with how to make things happen, how to materialize. I think that's your fascination as a. Okay, stop chatting me because I get disconnected. So what I do want to do today, actually, because this whole format of a public lecture is different than when you're physically here, is actually give you a little bit of insight, which you normally wouldn't see. And we don't show so much, is actually where is all this freaky artistic stuff being made. And this is happening right here in the middle of the periphery of the Green Heart in the Netherlands. And here we work with our team of WizKids and designers on these artworks, where we go from interactive vision to literally to shipping crate. And so I'm going to give you a little intimate tour and show you some new stuff that we're working on. And after that, you have a short moment to do some live feed Q&A, if you like. Okay, maybe that's the best way to go here. So this is actually what I like actually the most, being half priest, half, can you go back a bit? Take a step back. Half priest, half visionary. So Intimacy is a project which you can see in the link below. Is an interactive fashion project, but this is how it's being shipped. So this is just came back from Hong Kong, from air cargo. So basically, so you actually have the dresses here. So we can install it and it can travel around the world. So although the projects are high-tech and very sensual, we're very interested in actually make them as compatible as possible so they can tour around the world and create new experience with people. And so the area that we are here is actually where all the crates are stored. So we have around 20-25 exhibitions per year, up and coming. So here you have Lotus. Lotus wall, which you can also see in the link below. And this is liquid space. So it's on the wheels. And this just came back from an exhibition in London. So this is actually the area where we test the pieces and we update them and we copy more of the ideas that we have. And what we have here actually are more new prototypes. This is a piece for public artwork in Almere, sort of shapes of light, which will change in color and sound when you touch them. So there will be, I think, around 10 or 15 of them placed permanent in the city of Almere in a couple of months. And this is 10-meter June, shippable and billable. This just came back from Beijing. So besides futuristic, we're also pragmatic. So June is a modular system with the electronics and the sensors and the plugs all inside each other. And this is actually how it's being put in an airplane, being shipped, and then being installed on location. We always go there on location to set it up and to tune the type of interaction a bit. But in a way, this is how this is the banal reality we operate in. Okay, so let's go a bit to the studio itself, so I can show you a bit more on the projects that we're working on. So what important is to know is sometimes we work in commission, so like a Tate Modern or a Victoria and Albert Museum or a city calls us and want a new artwork. But sometimes we self-commission ourselves, so we actually, start projects of our own. Because the horror of success is that before you know it, a client just wants the same, wants to have color, June in color, which we can do, but would be completely boring. So the idea is that we think of what we think is interesting and make that happen. And Intimacy is actually a project which does that. And what you see here is actually one of the first dresses we made, which is actually a foil which changes in transparency when you become more intimate with it. So when nobody is there, it's sort of breathing, and when you become more connected, it starts. You can see that, right? Yeah. Yeah. And the idea, take a step back. The idea is actually that you sort of merge nature and technology with each other. And this is a dress which we, for example, can connect to touch or to heartbeat, so that the moment the model wears it and becomes more intimate with someone or ourselves, the more transparent actually you show from, the more you see from yourself. It's about hiding and showing in that way. So we spend a lot of time on things like embedding the copper wires, developing the materials. And this started as an art project and being exhibited in museums worldwide. But now we actually have clients from Silicon Valley mailing us how much, and we want to have one. So that would be next step. But that's what I mean with innovation. It's very interesting to connect crazy artists with high-tech stuff and see how they come up with visions for the future. And in this case, it was fashion, but we're also interested in highways or discotheques. I think it's important to copy more of the knowledge you have in your brain. It's also a lotus. So this is a lotus dome. It's a prototype for a new piece we have, made out of a material which, when you zoom in a bit, it's a foil, very thin, but the moment there's light and sound on it, it starts to fold open as a flower. And this is a prototype we made with the idea to sort of merge nature and technology more with each other. And right now, if you turn around, we have a big version which is still in progress for the city of Lille in France. So, okay, I'm going to speed up a bit. A lot of publications, international design, art and magazines who pick up our projects. So that's sort of interesting. And what you see here, actually, if you can make a 360. Is the studio itself. So what's important to know is that we develop our own technology. The painters have paint, well, we have our little microchips. And so we do that because we use it to create our poetry with it, but we also want that it works and remains working. This is very important. So this is actually a mini computer, so a microchip in it, different types of sensors. And we developed this ourselves in terms of electronics, but also in terms of software. This is sort of the soul, the heart of the pieces. So all the artworks that you know are being run on our own tech. Yeah. And for us, it's very important in the end that you don't see it, but you experience it. And so if all goes well, you will never see this, but it is a super important part of it. Yeah. So a lot of prototypes for new projects, depending on sustainable highways that we're working on, and sort of copy morphing the idea of sustainable dance floor to highways, to more new intimacy series, to interactive facades, and actually a lot of physical prototyping, and then the WizKids and designers team up, and that's how new projects are being made. This is a secret project which we cannot show yet. This is Peter. Hi, Peter. Peter, tell me what you're doing.
I'm now making a servo motor work with the laser, and to make it as accurate as possible, so I can do a lot of precision laser pointing with servo control.
Yeah, this is still a secret project, so you have to keep it generic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the more accurate I can control the servo motor, the more pretty the laser beam will move, and the more prettier shapes we can do with the laser.
So what is this?
This is actually a pulse that is being sent to the servo motor. Now it's in testing right now.
Yeah.
This is a pulse that I'm sending to the servo, and the more accurate I can send the pulse in terms of timing and interval, the more beautiful the laser will look.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
It's kind of test things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So then the microsecond seemed very fast, and accurate, but it wasn't. So I needed to revert to not microseconds, but not milliseconds, but microseconds. So 1,000 times more precise. And now even that is not precise enough, because the length of the laser, all the imperfections are amplified because of the distance the laser travels. So now I want to run it in clock cycle precision.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. So that is very precise.
I have no idea what he's talking about. But I like it already.
That's what I'm doing.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah. So now you see, this is the job of the artist as well, to sort of merge the crazy futuristic ideas with the hard, brutal world of technology as well. And last project I want to show you is this in Asse. We're building this huge public interactive landscape called Sensor Valley for the city of Asse. So Asse wants to be the sensor city of Europe. It got some grants from EU, so they're very developed in terms of sensor technologies, in terms of radio frequencies and telescopes and things like that. And one of their biggest projects is called LOFAR. It's a low frequency system where they want, basically the scientists say, where they want to figure out how the beginning of the Earth was created. And I thought like art was a mystique profession. Well, anyway, so they have a lot of sensors around the city, but we thought it was still very technical and very abstract. So what we're doing now for the new cultural center in Asse is build a series of light pillars placed at the entrance of the building, the public building, which change in color and sound when you touch them. So they are Sensor City, we make Sensor Valley. And this will be launched in 8 weeks, I think 21st of April. So you can go there and experience a new piece of ourselves. Yeah. Okay. And this is me. So, sitting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I muted my sound. So what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, I think what is interesting, I think, of the artist today is that when you talk about art and design, usually it's sort of connected to some kind of idea of self-expression. The Van Gogh syndrome, a person sitting in an attic somewhere cutting off little pieces of his or her ears. Maybe I think this is not so relevant and so interesting anymore. And I became fascinated with in sort of how can we update, or how can we come up with proposals with how our reality should look like. And I've always believed that by combining some kind of West Side Story, two gangs who don't belong to each other but fall in love anyway, like the whiz kids meet the fashion ladies, or me being with a big road manufacturer like Heijmans talking about sustainable highways, etc. That somehow in that way you can come up with proposals that art in itself, but also industry in itself, could never come up with. And I think within this chemistry, it creates a value, a soft value, but also a hard value. And I think that's where the magic starts kicking in. So I'm artist, I'm architect, but in the same way we are here inventor and entrepreneur, and just trying to make maybe a better world, but at least to make installation which we use technology to make environments which are more human again. And to conclude, I think this all may sound a little bit sci-fi and a bit abstract, but I don't think it is. For one, you can check the movies which are below right now with me. Pieces like June and Intimacy are tactile environments. But basically we're interested in how to make new worlds which connect to people. And I think, how do I say it? This is not so different than what you and I have been doing for a long time. When I was a boy, I built tree huts. I was going into nature and playing in the sand and build stuff in nature. So we're very used to sort of hack, to update, to change our landscape by adding and customizing it. And maybe when we grow up, suddenly we wake up and we wake up in these generic cities with shopping malls which all look the same. And I think that this is weird. We should still be able to hack our environment, to update it. And especially in a time like this, where the world we live in is sort of, the physical world is becoming more generic. It's looking more and more the same. And somehow our emotions, we're more and more connecting to a virtual cloud, software cloud up there, a la Facebook, a la Hives, or a la this virtual lecture. And is this good? Is this bad? Well, me not know, but I think it is interesting to sort of start merging these worlds, to sort of merge the real and the virtual again, and to truly think about landscapes, about art and design, which is about connecting, but also with coming up with new proposals. And I think that's where, for me, the real magic starts kicking in. Okay, questions? Please stop giving me the feeling I'm talking to myself. Are we here? Are we here?
The latest question is, can you explain how art, technology, and space work together in your projects?
Sorry?
Can you explain how space, art, and technology are combined in your projects?
Okay, the question is, if I understand correct, how art and design and technology connect to each other. Yes? Well, first, the thing we're very interested in is to say, okay, technology is part of the way we experience reality, but it's becoming more and more social. I don't believe in screens or in beamers in that way, so I'm very interested in what happens when the technology jumps out of the computer screen and becomes a part of our body. And within that setting, there's of course a George Orwell scenario, Big Brother, technology dominating us and doing bad things. But there's also a Leonardo da Vinci world, in which we say we learn how to fly, we can cure diseases, etc. We become more human, we become superhuman, and I think that's sort of super important to make proposals for that, how this world looks like. So yes, our art is very interactive, but it's also very spatial, because I think we should connect it again to body senses, to physical presence. And also an important, very important thing in our work is all the pieces that we make are very public. Like June in the Ash, it's a 60-meter artwork. You can go there right now in the evening. It's up there in the evening for free, and you interact with it. And I think that's when the real interaction starts popping up. Yeah. So this connection is super important. Next question. I see some people running. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you kickstart your business?
How did I kickstart my business? Yes. Very good. It's funny, I'm giving more and more lectures these weeks, and everybody is still asking, like, we love your work, but how do you make money? Yeah. So this is sort of a, well, to be honest, I'm still figuring that one out myself. But in the beginning, you just start, yes, and you have a lot of tools, from asking a fund from the government to robbing old ladies at night for money. I would advise to do all these kind of things. Most important is that you have an idea and you start pushing to make it happen. So I contacted the manufacturers and check if I could, if they could sponsor me. I did talk to the ambassadors, the Dutch embassy people. I went to fairs and talked to people who I thought were doing innovative things, but in a very boring way. So think as a network. Yes, that's one. And second is invest in your dreams. So when I finished my study, we got a commission for the Architectural Biennale in Rotterdam to make the first June, which was in the Maas Tunnel, June 4.1. And we actually had very little budget to do that, but it was enough actually to sort of kickstart a space, to hire the great people we have right now, etc. And at the same time, we knew it was we would be broke again in 6 months. So something had to happen within that period, and that was 4 years ago. So what I mean is, if you have an idea, think like a network, but also, start pushing it, make it the best quality you can imagine, and sooner or later somebody will sort of want to become a part of that. But yeah, I think the first 2 or 3 years you have no social life, and just push the ideas you still have in your brain. And to be honest, I think this is still the case. I mean, we could have created our little comfort zone and start making June in RGB colors. And that would pay the rent, but it would be completely boring, or I could work for Philips or all that stuff. But yeah, perhaps the world would have been a more boring place then. Next question. Okay, yeah?
How has your work changed over the years?
Hey, you have good questions. I have an assistant looking at the screen and sort of screaming the questions at me. So, how has my work changed through the years? In a way, it hasn't changed. The work hasn't changed so much. We still just do the things we think we want to make, and then we go and look for context which can help us, which can enhance this statement. So basically, we've always made what we dream of, what we imagine. Yes. What has changed is that the factor of context, so where you place things, has become more and more important. So there's a difference if you see June at the Victoria in Albert Museum 2 years ago, where it was part more of a Dutch digital design, of design becoming more digital exhibition, or when you see it somewhere in a public tunnel in Rotterdam, where you have no idea what you're looking at, and the whole notion of art is not so present. And to be honest, that last part is becoming more and more fascinated for me. So what changed is that I start looking for context, in which I make no quality difference between if I'm talking to a car manufacturer, a Boijmans van Beuningen museum, or a fashion company. Yes, it's about the statement that you want to make. So in a way, you could say we become more interested to apply the ideas that we have. Also to move away from the comfort zone art world and design world and architecture world has created them for themselves. Yeah. Next question.
So what's the next step? What's the next goal you want to accomplish?
Okay, what's the next step? What's the next goal I want to accomplish? Yeah, the same but more. Yeah. One of the big things we're working on now is public. So we're working on 4 to 5 large public space artworks where we do art but also public lighting. And these are more long-term, permanent installations where we get a chance to interact with the audience over 10, 15 to 50 years. And that asks a different mentality in terms of maintenance and how can we make that interactivity durable in terms of technology, but also in terms of emotional relationship. So what's next is upscaling, more landscape, more architecture, and really show that reality is not something fixed, but that we make the landscape, but that landscape is also making us. Yeah. So that's in Asia. We have the second studio in Shanghai, is sort of a forefront in that. So I'm spending half my time here, half my time there. Home is where the laptop is. Next question. How are you combining art industry? I mean, art is related with mechanism industry with market. Ah, yeah, okay. I think when I talk to the CEO of a big car manufacturer, let's say BMW, in a way, 50 or 60% of the conversations, we talk about the topics which are both interesting to us. To think about how can we make interactive and sustainable environments. The thing is that they have a different goal and a different audience than me, so we split around 60 or 70% after on the conversation. I think the challenge is, one, to make contemporary things which are meaningful for yourself but also for an audience, and two is to say no a lot. We are not interested to make a June for a media market where you can buy it and put it in your little home in your garden. We're interested in creating public experiences. So a lot of requests from industry we think are uninspiring or simply boring. But fortunately there are a lot of companies who are truly interested in innovation. And the moment you can combine as an artist, you can do a full package from artistic vision to shipping crate, what I showed you in the beginning. That's when industry gives you some kind of freedom to make that statement. But for sure, also that is a West Side Story, and you have to negotiate with that. But it's a decision that you make. You wanna knock yourself in the festival in the museum world, which is also interesting. It's very simple. You want to make an exhibition about sustainability, or you actually want to make a sustainable highway. That's a decision you as a designer have to make. Yeah? If you want to illustrate or to activate, to perform, and the moment you activate and perform, industry immediately is one of your partners because they know how to produce it. Next question, what are the key skills and assets needed to grow from a one-man show to an international successful studio? I wish I could answer all these questions. I would put them in little bottles and sell them to you. Well, I think I sort of answered that question already a little bit, think like a network, invest in your dreams. I had from day one people telling me that what I wanted was not possible and you should systematically ignore these people. They do not exist. They are not part of your brain, so forget about them. Be radical. Yeah. Any experience with angel or capital investors is a question. Yes, but no, we don't do that yet. We have we made a decision that we want to sort of let every project sort of finance itself, and the little profit we make, we start spending on new projects again. So in a way, we're always break even, but of course we keep on growing. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now I prefer to keep this artistic and commercial freedom. Next question. But do you make repeat projects, or are they basically unique products? Is a question. Well, you can see it here. We don't copy paste, but we copy morph. So we make unique editions. We're not so much interested in consumer product things. We're interested in this public environment. But of course we have a lot of knowledge in terms of technology, but also in terms of interactivity, which we sort of borrow from the pieces. And based on that we make several ones. So things we learned from June in terms of that people would touch them and hold it. We learned and we copy morphed it to pieces like intimacy. But I'm not so interested in sort of, copy pasting things too much. We're good at inventing and reinventing. And also that makes that the studio that we have right now is more of a lab than instead of a production house. So sometimes we do fashion, sometimes we do highways, sometimes we do museums, and that gives some kind of freedom, so that we can actually make the statement about the vision much more than about what the client wants. Is it art? Next question. Yes. Next question. Okay, we take one more question and then I'm going to stop talking to myself.
How did you position yourself as an artist? How did you communicate yourself as an artist in the beginning?
How did I position myself as an artist? How did I communicate it in the beginning? I think when we started doing the things that we dreamt of, like building, for example, the first interactive landscape June, Art World was very cynical about that, and they looked at me with slight envy and slight hate, in terms of that we work with technology and we work with manufacturers and with industry, and people were always a little bit hesitant toward that. They had some kind of puristic, fake sentimental idea about the artist being this Einzelganger. So what we always did was just make the things we believed in, and on one hand focus on innovation and teamwork and mixing different disciplines as a team to work on the project, but also to sort of focus on the poetry, on the techno-poetry of the project, and making this visionary statement. When we did one of the first exhibitions in the NIMC, the Dutch Art Institute, in the Media Art Institute in Amsterdam, we placed one of the first versions there. And after the opening, for the first time, people started reacting on the photos and the movies we made, quoting it like Alice in Technoland, or giving it some kind of spiritual meaning almost. And when I saw all these sort of feeds and blogs and newspaper articles coming by, I realized that what we had would never leave. It would always, this attention would always become a part of. I think positioning your artist is that you don't focus about product or just about capitalizing your ideas, but that it's more and more about the vision that you have, and continuously making that statement and updating that statement with new projects, with new proposals. And if you do that well enough, there will always be clients or contacts or commissions who want to become a part of that. But you're right. I mean, making money is not the main goal, but it's a natural consequence of what you do when you do things you believe in. I have a lot of questions now. If you could change anything about the creative industry, what would that be? Well, I'm tired of conferences where people share their ideas of what things should be doing, and I see a lot of opinions but very little proposals. I see a lot of breadcrumbs but no baking breads. So what I would change about creative industry is that it should team up and start making actual proposals. And this is, governments should invest in that if they're smart, but also the industry itself. So team up with different sectors. Like we're working now with the car manufacturer or a road manufacturer meets artists to think about sustainable highways. So mixing different sectors like the flower industry or fashion industry, and mixing them with art and designers, then you make things which have a much broader spectrum, and both parties, because they're not competitors, can still make their unique statement. So what I would change is go from a 10-15 degrees to a 360 degree, but also make it happen. That's the horror of Europe right now. It's sort of filled with knowledge but unable to apply it, and that makes it sort of a dinosaur. That makes it that it's a country, that Europe is a country which is good until prototype, and after that we have to go to China, and that's a bit sad. What is your inspiration? Who is your inspiration? Oh, I don't really work like that, actually. I'm trying to drag future into the now. That's what makes me happy. Yeah, and to go to exhibitions and that people who have no idea what they're looking at still feel connected with a piece like June or Liquid Space. That sort of is triggering my brain a lot. Yeah. Okay, next question. Okay. I think time is up. Okay, guys, thanks for the experiment. I hope we sort of somehow connected between the lines, and we keep in touch.